Hi, welcome back. Now this is a bit of a different video for me because this aircraft was built as a commission for Airfix, and it was built for their website, for their YouTube channel. So if you look on, by the time you're seeing this, you will have this video that I created should have been on the Airfix website for a couple of weeks actually, because they asked me not to publish anything till they've had it on their website for a bit, on their YouTube channel for a bit. They've altered it, I think. They've cut it down and changed it and put their own voiceover on stuff. But this is the video, or this is the aircraft that I built for Airfix, and they've said I can use the content, if you like, for my own channel now. So this is it. So the following footage will have a bit of an Airfix vibe to it because it was built for them. So yeah, building this Chipmunk, nice little model actually. I really enjoyed building this. It's quite a nice thing. So yeah, have a check this one out. Catch you in a bit. Today we'll be building the Havilland Chipmunk T.10 in this striking colour scheme. Okay, the first part we're going to glue together is C15 and C23. Simple job, just get that piece in there, it fits really nicely. Get some liquid cement, I prefer liquid cement for this job, just let it jump into that capillary into there. Next job, it calls for the seat cushions to be fitted into the seats, but I'm not going to do that just yet because we're going to paint the seat belts, and I want to do those in a different way, so we'll fit those at a later date. So then we have the cockpit base, if you like, and it starts asking for to drill 1mm holes in those 2 points there. This is to fit the compasses that are both grey, so we need to just drill those out. You can use an electric drill or a hand one, it doesn't really matter. Just gently whiz them out of there. Okay, at this stage I've decided to fit the seat bases into the cockpit base. Those are the little compasses that need to fit there and there. We're not fitting those yet because unfortunately they're not black, they're grey. So we're going to fit that in there like that. And then this back one here registers on those little 2 dints in the moulding there. So they just fit there like that. Okay, jumping forward from the build sequence, on section 10 there are 2 little pieces that fit just here. I'm going to fit them now because these are also black. It's easier to fit them now and paint them when it's part of the cockpit tub, if you like. Okay, then we've got the cockpit tub minus the seat pads and minus the compasses just yet, but that assembly can now be painted black. Needs priming first, but that's what's going to happen. Now we move on to the fuselage sides, and it's asking to drill 2 holes here. It's for some additional pieces that go on the outside of the fuselage, but it's only on certain models. On this particular model it does have them, so you've got to drill them at the right angle, which is that angle there. Well, remember, we're going to fit a bulkhead just here. This glue's quite nice for this because it doesn't dry too quickly. We're just going to fit that in there, and this is the part that holds the tail wheel in place. Okay, before we paint it black, it's always pays to dry fit everything when you're building a model. This is no exception. And when you put the fuselage sides together like this, everything fits beautifully. It all fits and closes up great. When you put the cockpit tub in there, it fits in those location points, just there and just there. Now this part of this cockpit tub fits into this little recess here, but if you notice there's a moulding pin mark in that area where it should fit, so it needs to be removed before this cockpit to fit properly, because at the moment if you fit like that, I'll just show you quickly. When you put the 2 halves together, it fits okay at the back, but that bit there won't close, and so you'll end up with a gap in the bulkhead, and it just affects the build going along. You don't want to be adding filler and things like that. So what we'll do, I'll just clear those little pin marks out because there's one on each side, and then the cockpit should fit better. Okay, all the parts I need black have now been primed grey, so just giving them a nice gentle coat of black. Yeah, looks like coal at the moment, but we'll bring some life to it with a little bit of weathering as well. Okay, this is how I'm doing the seat pads. It's easier to paint the seat. This is the colour it specifies for the seat belt, which is like a light grey colour. So I spread those light grey, and then the actual base is still black. Now a lot of people are in the past. I would have painted the whole thing black and then picked out the seat belts, but because they're raised, it's easier to actually just use very thin black paint and just let it flow up to the edges of all the raised part, which is the seat belt. Okay, I've added the decals. There's 4 decals on this side and 2 on that side. I'm just adding a little bit of dry brush silver, just to try and bring some life to the black. Okay, I fitted the cockpit it up. As I said before, it is important to clear that piece of flash from the moulding, and then these 2 sides go together really nicely. So we just fit. Just make sure it fits everywhere, and it does. So what I tend to do now is put extra thin glue in each seam and just let it run into the seams. I don't do it all at once, just do a bit at a time, and then hold each seam and make sure it lines up as best you can, really, so it just saves up on cleanup later on. So I'll go around the whole model until we get the whole thing bonded. Okay, that's the fuselage halves glued together. Quite easy to do, really. As long as you clear those pieces out of the front end, you're good to go. So that needs to just set, and then we can clean that up and then move on to the next stage. It now calls for the engine to be fitted. Well, actually there's the instrument panel for the front, but we're not going to do that just yet. First thing I want to do now is just fit this bulkhead, with the firewall bulkhead for the engine. And it also, as I say, it calls for the building of the engine and fitting of that now, but we're not going to do that. I'll explain that later. So that one's gluing in there basically, and I'll be back when I've done that. Right, here we've got the instrumentation decal. Use a setting solution of your choice basically, and then make sure you put a generous amount on that. Just leave that to do its thing, don't touch it, and then in 5 minutes just absorb some of it with a paper towel and just let it dry, and it will conform beautifully. Okay, the control panels have gone really nice actually. The decals have settled beautifully. So it's just a case of I've put the rear one in. They are handed, it says R on the back and F on the front of the other one, so you can't get them wrong really. That bit just fits in there like that. Just need to glue that in place and move on to the next stage. Okay, I've done some more preparation on this fuselage. I've sanded it all up and made all the seams as good as I possibly can. Now at this stage it shows fitting, this engine is going to be exposed. I'm having the covers open on this one, and it shows fitting these little brackets to this point here to mount the actual open covers on there. I'm not going to do that because I'm not going to fit the engine at this point, because I want to fit the cowlings on temporarily when I paint it. Take the cowlings off, then fit the engine, doing that sort of thing. So this part we're going to do later on. So ignore all that part, and we're going to jump to section 30, which is building the wing. And the wing is dead easy to do. It's just a spar bottom piece with a little light in the bottom, and then you mount the wing onto the bottom of the fuselage, and then you mount the top parts of the wing: ailerons, tail, rudder. These anti-spin strikes, you see them on Tiger Moths as well. I think that's what they are anyway. We might fit those later on because they're right on the line, or very, very near to the line of where you're going to mask it, and they'd be very difficult to mask round those. So I haven't decided yet what we're going to do about those. Then you've got the elevators. Not going to do the undercarriage yet, obviously. So when we get to this point, basically, once all the flying surfaces are on the model, we could start spraying it up and masking it and painting it in the various colours. So I'll just go through all fitting of the wings, etc. Okay, I'll do the wing spar first. quite a simple process really. One bit fits just there. Use any glue for this because you can't see it. The next job with this is the tailplane. Now the tailplane is 3 pieces. So you've got these pieces that just fit on the top there. Like so. And we have the other one that goes on the top of there. So I shall glue those together and I'll be back. Okay, the tail's now glued together. That just sits on there like that and glued in place. Like so. Okay, fitting the lower wing. It basically has some little lugs there that just hook under there. A bit fiddly actually. It's not fiddly, it's just it kind of squeezes into it and then that back end just clicks into place. And you just have to encourage the front end to kind of just knit into the right position. Then it's just a case of dropping some glue into the appropriate places. So I'll do that next. Before fitting the top wing, remember to fit, there's a little light in there which shows on this side. So what I tend to do is put a chrome, just a bit of chrome pen there, which shows through a little bit silver on this side. And then fitting the wings, that's just obviously they just sit under that lug there. You just go around it all and glue them all together. So, okay, Havilland's just, they're a separate part obviously, and they just sit in there like that in a little groove. So they need gluing in each side. So all we're left with are the little strakes that go on the side. They're just fitting the holes there. Actually wrong way around. They go there like that. But they get right in the way when masking, so I'm going to fit those as a separate item at the end. And the elevators are a different colour, so there's no point fitting them and then trying to mask around them. So I'll fit those when I've painted them. And the rudder I'm going to fit, because of masking around that area there, it's easier to do it with the rudder off. So I'm going to paint that separate and I'll probably glue it on at an angle as well. What we need to do now is let the wings dry, clean the wings up completely. I'm going to temporarily fit the cowling without the engine in it, and then we can start masking, basically give it a coat of primer, and then we can start painting it. Okay, we're now at the stage where I want to put the actual cowling on the front but not fit the engine, as I mentioned earlier, and this is the reason why. So it shows on the instructions to glue this piece to that piece and to the bottom. Now this is the bottom piece and this is the front cowl. So I've glued that onto there. What we're going to do now is we're going to temporarily glue this onto here. And to do that we're going to use some PVA, polyvinyl acrylic, or wood glue basically to most people. We're just going to put a little bit on this little bit here. You don't need a right lot. You can pick it off afterwards, and I'll show that when we get to that stage. So there's a bit on there, a little bit on that end there. It just fits into a little notch just there. It is quite important to wipe off the excess bit at the front or anywhere that's going to get painted. Okay, now we're going to fit the side covers. Well, this side cover, I've thinned it down a little bit at the edges, by the way, just to make it look a little bit more scale. On that one it's a lot thicker, as you can see. If they're closer you can't see them anyway, but on these they're very much very visible indeed. So that bit needs gluing in there temporarily as well. I'll do that off camera because it's quite fiddly to do. I'll be back shortly. Okay, that one's in place now. And that one's started, if you let that dry, it needs to dry for quite a while actually to make it strong enough. When that's dry, it'll be perfectly strong enough to be able to do anything to it basically. But you can also remove them when you finish painting, then to finish off the engine and the bulkheads and stuff. I'll fit that one when I've thinned the sides down. Okay, there we go, they're temporary fitted. If you were doing, it's only this colour scheme I would do this with, to be fair. All the other ones you could paint them off the model itself, particularly the silver and the camo one. It's quite easy to do. The silver one's really easy to do, but the colour scheme we're doing is the hardest one to achieve, so that's why I'm doing this. When it's dry, we could start putting some primer on. Okay, the whole model's now been primed. I've touched it up and sanded little bits of imperfections and stuff. So it's ready for a coat of white. I'm going to do it. The whole thing is now going to get painted gloss white, because white is an extremely good colour for putting red on top of. It makes it pop, and it's a very colourful aeroplane as this. It's not a slightly dull red, it's a very bright red. So I want the red to stand out well. And top of the fuselage is white anyway. Underneath it's mainly grey and red. But I'm going to do it all white anyway, because as I say, I want the red to stand out. The cowlings are going to be okay. They will need touching up when I take them off. There's going to be glue residue behind, but the main reason I'm doing this is because when I put the masking tape down the sides of the fuselage, getting the lines correct throughout the cowling right to the front, the only way to do it accurately is to put the cowling on. So that's where we're going to do it. So the next job is to paint it white. Okay, that's one very white aeroplane. That has to dry now thoroughly for a day at least. Depends on what paint you're going to use, but regardless of what paint you've used to do this, let it dry, because we're going to have to handle that quite a lot to put the masking on and everything. And there's quite a lot of masking to do on this one, so yeah, that's going to be left alone for 24 hours. Okay, the fuselage is all dry. I've given it a little sand in little areas where there are little blemishes and stuff, but generally speaking it's gone down really nicely. For this process I'm using lacquer based paints, because I'm using gloss paint. It dries really fast and it dries tough as well, and you don't get a colour shift with it, so whatever colour you put down it'll stay that colour as well. So I want that. I've had to mix the grey, because I always find a lot of greys on these tend to be too dark, especially when you put them down and it dries, it can go a bit darker, and they always look a little bit too dark for me, so I've mixed one especially for that job. That's dried, and I've now masked off the areas that now need to be painted red. So that's the next job. Using lacquer based paint for this, because it's gloss as well. It's just easier for masking. It gives a sharper edge and things like that, and it dries a lot quicker than most acrylic paints do. So yeah, on with the red. Done. Time to remove masking tape. Yeah, quite happy with that. It needs a few touch-ups here and there, but that took a lot. That was a lot quicker to take off than it was to put on, that's for sure. So next job now is to let that dry thoroughly, and then just do the touch-up parts. Just a tiny little bit of overspray there, and a tiny bit on the front there. That'll probably sand out actually, but we'll see. So once that's dried, as I say, it needs thoroughly drying now. I can then paint the black cowl part here, and the wings need to be painted grey, so we'll be back when that's ready to go. Okay, it's another day, everything's dried up now, so we can get on with the rest of it. So what I'm going to do today, or this session, is just to paint this top deck, and then repaint inside obviously in the cockpit area and stuff. What I've done for the masking of the nose, I've had to make like a cut a mask basically, very carefully. Made a little plastic card mould and then made it to suit that shape. It's quite a tricky one to make. It doesn't look much, but it is. So what we're going to do now, I've masked it to death, so just in case we get any overspray on it, I don't want to do that. And we're just going to gently fill in the white. Okay, there we are. The paint went on. It dried as it hit the model, so which is what I wanted to happen. So now I'll just let that dry for 5 or 10 minutes, and then I'll pull the masking tape off. When this cowling's going to get removed, so when that gets removed, it all needs cleaning up, and it will need touching up quite a lot actually. All I need to do is establish the lines really, so I know where all the lines go, and then I can just remask it and paint it again if I need to. But it's just important to get that line correct really, around there. Even though when the covers are opened, it doesn't matter if they line up or not really. But I do need that nose to look nice and neat and tidy. And doing that separately, really difficult. It's much easier to do it on the model. So I'll just leave that to dry and we'll be back. Okay, that's gone really well. I'm quite happy with that. It does need a coat. Well, the whole model's going to get covered in various layers of lacquer anyway, but I'm quite happy with that for now. So I'm just going to let it dry for a little bit. Then I need to mask off and then do the wings grey. I also fitted I haven't fitted them, just push fitted these little strakes at the back here. They need painting white. I still need to work out how to glue them in and then kind of touch them in. It may need a bit of careful masking again just to kind of touch them in with paint afterwards, but that's why I fitted them afterwards, because you couldn't get that mask line there accurate with these in there, because you'd never mask it. It'd look horrendous. So yeah, they're coming. I'm quite happy with how they've gone, but they will need quite a bit of work to get right. So I'll be back when well, I'll get to mask the wings up now. At this point I've decided to remove the nose, so this is how you take the nose off. Should come off with a bit of a wiggle. Let's get those covers off. Just flicking under there. So they're going to be up there like that when they're finished. But all that glue is going to have to be removed. Do it off camera. Have to be careful with it. Okay, so they're all the pieces now off the model. They'll just need the glue residue picking off, and then it'll just need touching up. But they've all got to be painted green inside anyway. So these covers are all green in there, as is the bulkhead at the back. What I will do with this is to repaint that area probably. It's not much of a job at all. Again, needs painting green underneath, and the bulkhead needs painting green, and then some more big pieces need fitting onto there as well. So, but it's just easier to work on the model now without that in the way. Okay, it's time to paint the wings, just the grey bits. The only bits that are grey are these wing panels and the elevators. They're already painted grey, but I'm doing a different colour now, so I'll be back when I've done those. Okay, top tip when building the propeller and the spinner assembly. It comes in 3 pieces like this. Now if you cut the pieces from the sprue too close with a pair of nippers, you end up losing part of the plastic off this part of the spinner and off this one as well. So, and then the result of that is you end up with a spinner that's not particularly round. It looks alright, but if you want it to be an accurate spinner, like I do, don't do it like that. Cut the parts off the sprue and then nibble away at them very, very gently before you glue it all together, and then you'll end up with a round spinner. I will do that now. Okay, that's the prop and spinner assembly all cleaned up and tidied up. Nice and round at the back as well, and nice and round at the front. No lumps missing out of it. It just needs, it's been primed, it just needs painting black, and then we can add the stripy decals to the blades. Okay, just fitting the decals to the propeller. Quite tricky, but let's get them in place. Get lots of decal solution on there, and they should be okay. Okay, that's the decals fitted, fit on really nicely. I'll just let the decal solution do its stuff and let them shrink back, and when they're dry I'll give them a coat of lacquer, and that should see that done. Okay, I'm just in the process of putting all the decals on basically. There's quite a lot of them, extensive amounts of them actually, so I think it's going to take me quite a few hours to do all this lot. So when I've got all the decals in place, I'll be back. Okay, some considerable time later, all the decals are done. I've done the cowling covers as well, and the nose as well. So this now needs a coat of lacquer to seal all the decals in, and then we can start putting some weathering on it perhaps. And then after that we're looking at building the engine and then the canopy, and it's getting nearly done. So back when I've got the coat of lacquer on this. Okay, lacquer's on, very very shiny indeed. As you can see, it's all glossy and shiny. It may keep that, but some of it'll back off with handling and things like that. But if you look at pictures of this aircraft, it is a shiny aeroplane. It's by no means a weathered aeroplane. It's got little bits, but not much, because it's been restored. It's brand new really. The paint's all brand new in it, so it is very shiny. So I'm trying to achieve that with this one. So I can't really do anything to this at the moment because it's been lacquered and it needs, as much as it's now dry you can touch it, I don't want to handle it much because it could mark it. So I'm going to leave it alone for a few days. So in the meantime, working on the engine. Now then, when you build the engine, I mentioned earlier that we weren't doing the engine in the sequence of the instruction sheet. The engine is comprised of just a few parts. There's a main spindle at the propeller fastener, 2 engine halves, this piece here, another piece that's exhaust there, and then there's a cover on one side, and then you've got the frames for the actual mounting on the aircraft itself. What I've chosen to do, you don't have to do this, but I've always found when you put engine mounts onto engines and stuff, you've got to get a good glue band on them to make them, to give it integrity if you like, so it sticks well. And I find when they've been painted and stuff, it doesn't work so well. So what I've decided to do, these are all the parts, you see, it's just all falls apart. You've got some other bits, these are other parts here. I haven't fitted these on the other one yet. So when you built it, what I've done, I built it like this. I've painted it all dark grey, because that generally seems to be the colour that they are. And I've painted the whole thing, and what we need to do now is pick out these frames in green. And I'll do that with a brush paint. I can brush paint that, and then I'll fit the rest of the parts, because if you fit them first you'll have a job on getting the brush around the back of the components. But all these bits will then fit on afterwards. The same colour actually, that's the same colour. That bit is there as well, that fits on, it just about squeezes under there quite well. And then we've got, what have we got, the exhaust is a different colour completely, that sits down here. And that fits on the bulkhead, on the aircraft itself. So what I'm going to do now is paint this green. Okay, that's the engine completed. I added all the other pieces afterwards. That didn't need gluing in because it clipped into place quite nicely. This side panel didn't need gluing in either because that clipped in. I glued on the exhaust pipe. I've given the whole thing like a very light gloss coat so that the actual panel liner didn't soak in too much. I've just added the propeller to make it look fun. So yeah, that can go in the model now, but I can't fit it just yet because the model's not dry, but when I can fit it I will do, and then we can progress on. The next stage now, it's getting quite near. I need to do the canopy. Now the canopy is quite a model in itself because there's quite a lot of parts to it, and it needs a lot of masking as well, so the canopy is the next stage, and then the undercarriage, but the undercarriage isn't too bad. So yeah, canopy next. Okay, I'm just working on the canopy now, so basically I suggest you invest in some canopy masks for this because it's got quite a lot of glazing on this model. So it's masked on the inside and the outside, so it's black on the inside, and obviously it's a colour of the model that you're going to paint. In this case it's going to be white. So I'm going to spray the black first on the inside because there may be a little bit of overspray. But I'd rather have overspray on the inside than the outside if you like, so I want the white to be perfect on the outside. I don't think you'll see a lot of the black on the inside, but it will show up, certainly on the front screen it will. So I'm going to get those painted and I'll be back. Okay, I decided to fit all the undercarriage now. There's not much to the undercarriage really, there's just a tail wheel at the back that plugs into a little socket underneath there. Painted inside the bare green. I've painted up the leg, it's just basically the bottom of the fuselage colour, and then it's silver and black wheels and stuff, and they just basically plug in there. It's quite simple. It's the wrong way around actually. That one goes in there, and that one goes in there, and it's just pulver glue in there and make sure they're all straight and stuff, and you're good to go on the undercarriage. It's probably the simplest undercarriage I've ever put on a model, to be fair. So that's that bit done. I can now put the model down as well, which is quite nice. And there we go, model can now stand on its own 2 feet. Okay, I've fitted the cowlings, so you just basically have to kind of, they're obviously pre-glued to each other. I've just kind of parted them and just clipped them each side of it, and then just dropped a bit of sino on each side. And that's quite a nice strong structure. To fit those afterwards and getting them lined up and strong, I think would be quite difficult, so I think this is a good way of doing it. What I need to do now is just drop the engine in, and when I built this engine with these bearers, I kind of built them in place like this, so I knew it'd fit. That's another advantage of doing it this way. So basically I know when I put that engine in there, it's in the right place. So I'm just going to drop a little bit of sino on there now. So all we need to do now, I'm using sino because it grabs quick. And it kind of disappears when it dries. I'm going to put a little piece in each hole. Like so. That's it, wood installed engine. Next job is to fit the actual nose, so we'll do that next. Okay, that's the engine fitted and the propeller on off, obviously. Quite a tight squeeze getting all this lot to fit in there, but yeah, it went on okay. Quite happy with that. So next job, just pretty much the last job really, is to get the canopy sorted out, so that's the next bit we're going to do. Okay, to assemble the 3 pieces for the rear canopy, you get this little jig. You can fit that piece at the front there. It says don't glue it on, but I have done for some reason. I just find it works better with it glued in place. And these panels, the side panels, fit in these little grooves here. You just drop them into that place. So it gets the angle correct, so it makes it easy to fit everything together. Just make sure they're pushed home. And then the top, I've left the masks on by the way, so I might have to retouch it when I've glued it on, I don't know yet. And then this piece just sits on the top like that. And then you just glue it together appropriately, whatever glue you think's appropriate. I'm going to use canopy adhesive, so it won't, I don't want to risk fogging the canopy at this stage. So I'm going to glue that up and then I'll be back. And I'll take the masks off when it's dry. And all we need to do then is put the decals on the canopy, because there are a few little decals on it. Fit the front screen, and I've got the pitot tube to go on, and then that's it. So I'll be back soon. Okay, everything's fitted, canopy's fitted, I've glued it on so nothing falls off. I've left it in the open position. You can have it closed if you wish, but I just think it looks quite nice open. Fitted the elevators in the deflected position, slightly down, and I've put the rudder on a tilt as well, so I think it gives it a bit more character. What else have we done? Fitted the pitot tube, tiny little bit of weather underneath, not much. I've left it as clean as possible, this model. There we go. So that's the build complete. Overall, a really enjoyable kit to build. I really enjoyed every minute of this one. We hope you enjoyed watching it, so please give the video a like and subscribe to the channel for more builds. Let us know in the comments what kits you'd like to see us tackle next, or if you'd like to see some techniques you'd like to see featured. Some stills to follow on this completed model. Thanks for watching.